I wanted to give you a little update. I am the founder of Venus Wisdom, and there is some really interesting energies going on in the sky story right now. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of what you might already be feeling. If you are feeling frustrated, this is what Mars can be inspiring right now. And we have a very interesting situation where Mars, who is our external energy, Mars is how we go get what we want. Mars is the masculine energy that goes out, that goes forward, the hero. Mars is in the watery, sensitive, emotional sign of Cancer, of the mother, of the history, of the conditioning, of the ways that we did or we did not get our emotional needs met. So you may be coming up against some crabbiness, some crankiness, some frustration in yourself or others, because there's a dynamic right now where Mars can't really do his thing, which is to go forward in a clear way and to get what he wants. And I'm saying he for that energy that we all have to do that. And so what's happening right now is that Mars is coming to the end of a very long retrograde period. What does that mean? That means that Mars, which is this planet of outer and of go get them and of just this action, has been turned within. And not only turned within, but again, turned within in this very watery feminine sign. And so that is about to change. And so when that changes, Mars is slowing down to turn around. And so whenever a planet is changing direction, we get this super intensified, energetic kickback from them slowing down and then turning around to go the other direction. And so Mars is going to change directions and go forward Sunday at just about 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And that may bring your life some sense of forward motion. So try between now and then to work on your emotional intelligence, to work on being clear about asking for what you want, asking for what you need, and managing your own emotional reactions. There is a lot of emotional reactivity in the field. And so what we can do in that is we can manage ourselves, right? We can't have control over what other people do. Now, Mars went retrograde December 6th of 2024. So this has been a very long period. And Mars only goes retrograde every couple years. So it's one of the rare of the transits. And so just know as you're moving through this tail end of that happening, that there's a lot of reflections about how do we handle it when we don't get what we want? How do we handle other people's crappy emotional responses? And to really have a chance to warrior up in that sense of being not sucked in, not hooked in to other people not being able to manage their reactions. So the other thing that's going on that's really interesting is that Venus is at her peak, the end of her 19-month cycle. She's coming to the closing, most beautiful, full part of her cycle where she's really in a pinnacle. She's gorgeous. She's shining in the west after sunset, really bright, really high. And so she has just this week, 1 week from now, she is going to also change directions and she's going to go retrograde. So we have Mars coming out of a retrograde on Sunday, and we have Venus going into a retrograde on March 1st. And so it's really an interesting dynamic, especially because Venus right now is in the sign of Aries, in the first sign of the zodiac, that fire of inspiration, that spark of life that is born out of the Piscean waters. And so a big part of what we're doing right now on this planet is we're redefining what that birth energy is, because that energy has been defined as war and conflict and violence as the very first sign. But Venus really, in the end of this one cycle, And then as she's going to begin a new cycle at the equinox, we really have a chance to change the way that we look at that initiating energy, and to have that passion, to have that boldness without force or without a strong sense of controlling others. You know, there's just this elegance that the Venusian energy, the feminine energy brings. There's a sense of flow. And so, how do we flow into spontaneous passion, expression, leadership, pioneering new places, new ideas, being the first one? How do we do that with a sense of grace? So we get to really pull upon Venus in Aries, in Mars sign of Aries. You know, Mars rules Aries. Mars is connected to that first sign of the zodiac, and really lending her grace, her beauty, her wholeness, because she has gone through a heroine's journey since August 13th of 2023. And whether you know it or not, whether you're consciously syncing with Venus and consciously aligning with the harmonics of this transformational process of birth, of that impulse to create, that impulse to grow, that impulse to stretch, that impulse to evolve, and then the journey that we go upon to learn and discover who we are at a deeper level, and all the interactions we have with others when we're trying to create something that we want, when we're trying to bring that forth into the world and manifest that. And then the deep initiation that happens, the surrender that happens at some point when we tap into the source within, when we realize that we are the holder of all the love that we need is within us, and we can connect with that inside as source, whatever we call that connection. We have that unconditional love within us. And when we tap into that, we are in a maturation process. We're not looking for others to fill us up. We're not needy. We're not wanting to fall in love to feel whole. We're not wanting to look to other people to give us a sense of pleasure and joy. We know who we are, and we know what fills us up and what lights us up. And so this heroine's journey is always this process of that birth, that death, which is a transformational death, a symbolic death, and then a showing up and a reemerging, a rebirth in greater service. So that's the question right now: is what have we learned about our own creative impulse, our own creative process, our own desire to create a better world, a more beautiful world, a more harmonious world, a world free of war, a world that is safe for children, a world that honors our creative genius, a world that is about collaboration instead of competition. What have we learned, and how have we matured, and what are we holding? What's our vision that we're holding? Because boy, oh boy, this next cycle is going to be just amazing, that starts in the equinox time. So I want to share with you super quick. I want to just show you the dynamics of what I'm speaking about here. And I have the chart for this moment. And actually, sorry, it's not this moment. Now this moment. And I took out everything but the sun, which is in Pisces. Shout out to the sun being in the changeable, dreamy waters of Pisces, also really softening those hard edges, bringing us into more inspiration with the unknown, with the spiritual, with the musical, with the muse. So thank you, Sun in Pisces. And then Mercury's there as the mind, the messenger, also in Pisces. But these two forces of our inner world, our inner energy, our attention within, what we discover about ourselves when we dive into who we are, and then the masculine Mars, how we go forth, how we get what we want. So check it out. Check out what's going to happen. So this is now. Happy Friday. Happy Venus Day. So you can see Mars is at the 17 degree and he's not moving. He's been, we're going to go backwards. I'm going to go backwards here. Look at that. Been at the 17th degree since February 11th. So that's what I'm talking about. Slowing down and just hanging out at this degree, going so slow before turning around. So here we go. Now we're coming back to the 21st. You can see the moon's doing her thing, moving, cruising, changing signs every 2.5 days. Okay, here we are. So Mars is 17 degrees, and you can see this redness means that that's retrograde in this program. And Saturday, still 17 degrees. And Venus is moving a little bit. She's also pretty slow right now, but she's forward. She's culminating. She's not retrograde yet. And then on Sunday, we have that red disappeared. So now that's black. It means Mars has turned around, and that is exact at 5:59 p.m. on Sunday, 17 degrees of Cancer. There we have it. That I can finally go forward, and Mars is going to go over all of the same territory that he traversed going backwards and come back to the point where he went retrograde, which is in the sign of Leo, which there's a lot more fire, there's a lot more agency. Mars is happier in Leo. Okay, so we have this, and that's on the 23rd on Sunday. You might feel a big relief of, okay, there's some forward motion. And then we have this beautiful last week with Venus hanging out at that 10 degrees. See, so now she's not moving. She's not moving. She's at that 10 degrees. She's just hanging out so slow. And then boom, on the 1st, she turns retrograde. And then she is officially wrapping up her cycle. So I want to encourage you, this retrograde period is really important. I want to encourage you not to anticipate and jump ahead to it. Really open and receive and revel in the deliciousness of this peak of this cycle. Go out and watch Venus in the west. Do something luscious. Do something that makes you feel good. Do something that helps you connect with others. Because what we tend to do a lot of times, what I see in looking at astrology, we tend to jump ahead and anticipate the next thing, the next thing. Well, this is not a week to miss. This is not a week to get into this retrograde yet, because it's not happening until March 1st, Saturday. Now, the interesting thing about when it does happen, I'm just going to tell you a few things, and I want you to not focus on that yet. But she is going to, before, oh, hang on. I'm just getting you some times here. Okay, so she's going to turn retrograde at 4:36 p.m. on Saturday, March 1st, and she is going to meet up with the moon for her monthly conjunction at 7:25 p.m. on Saturday, March 1st. So it's going to be really interesting. Our final visible moon Venus conjunction, she'll already be retrograde. And so you can see it there. That's going to be really an interesting new Venus portal, as I call it. The moon is going to meet her at 10 degrees, and Mars will then be really in that forward motion in Cancer, moving forward, freed up. And then she's going to go on a journey, our inner, to turn even deeper within into what is a big reflection time as she prepares for the next cycle. So if you have seen my map of the Venus cycle, this is for the cycle that we're finishing up, that started on August 13th and is taking us to March 22nd of 2025. If you don't have that, I'll put a link in, get your map for this last cycle so you can do some reflections when that retrograde comes. Get the free Venus guide so you can connect with some of the qualities of your Venus, that evolutionary feminine part of you, that heroine part of you. You know, Venus is really our feminine nature that has the ability to be on our cutting edge, our growth edge, especially in relationship to the sun, her cycle with the sun. Whereas the moon is more of our history. It's more of our conditioning. It's more of our family line and all of that. So there's a different energy between those two. So you can see here, in this map, we start at number 1, and we've been on a journey. These are all great dates. These are power dates to reflect what has happened to you on this journey since August 13th, 2023. And this is our final portal. And we'll see that she's retrograde. Here's the visual of the moon and Venus at that 10 degrees in the sign of Aries, in the first sign of the zodiac, and burning bright with that inspiration to connect enthusiastically, to be passionate, to there's really a freedom from self-consciousness in Aries. It's like that bursting forth energy. And we're not thinking so much about how we're going to be received and how others are going to think about us. It's more just that spontaneous way that we might express ourselves. So it's really important right now, especially because this cycle started in the sign of Leo, which is about our creative spirit, which is about our inner child, which is about our joy, is about us waking up to the reality that we are creators. And this whole creation process has been hijacked in this realm, but we are creators and we get to dream into the world that we want to create. So it's a great week. It's a great week to express yourself, to tend to whatever kind of artistic activities you like to do, and to share your love with the people that you love and let them know how much they mean to you. Love notes, all of that. And you may notice, that you are not as close to some people. There's a real, when we go deeper into who we are and we become truer, we become our truer self. This is a big theme, showing up as our true self, really being authentic. Some people fall away. So just really feeling like what's alive for you, what feels alive and exciting. And there may be new people that are going to come into your life, into your close circle in this process of Venus bridging between the one cycle and the next. There's a lot of new energy. There's a lot of birthing energy. So really to be in a celebration of all the ways that you have come home to yourself since this particular journey began in August 2023, all the ways that you've shown up courageously and you've been willing to shine and to radiate, even though you might have been shut down for that when you were younger. Most of us were in being too big, being too creative, not doing the right thing, whatever it is, these creativity wounds, the way that we've shown up for our journey. And the world really needs to know our own beautiful selves. So thank you so much for that. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Actually, I cannot see any of the comments, but I will answer after if you leave a comment. I'd love to hear how it lands. I always love your feedback. And you are invited Friday, the day before Venus goes retrograde. There is going to be a gathering of celebration for everyone that has connected with their Venus guide. And I'm going to be walking through the Venus signs from Aries to Pisces. I'm going to be walking through the Venus houses, and we're going to do a celebration. So you're invited to that. And that's going to be 10 a.m. on Friday. And I'll drop the link, but make sure you get your guide so you have some context about what we're talking about and what your personal Venus is. I've set it all up so you can figure all that out, and you can show up with knowing your Venus and knowing some of the qualities and really discovering how does that land for you. Because I'm not here to tell anyone who they are, but I can prompt and I can share the energetics. I can share those qualities of the different consciousnesses of the sign. And then you get to decide, you go, oh, that's me, that part's me. You get to decide and feel what resonates. And then it gets really fun. So I hope you'll come play with us, and I'll drop the link for that too. Have a beautiful Friday night. And I hope you do some just extra creating and appreciation of yourself and others this week.